Hi, I'm Matt, and in this video we are going to go over how to count significant figures in a number. So first, what is a significant figure, or a sig fig as we often call them? So significant figures are numbers that have meaning or value in the number that we're looking at, and they tell us how accurate and precise our value is. Accurate is how close a value is to the actual value, and precision is how close the values are together. So, to determine the number of significant figures in a number, there are 4 rules we usually use. All non-zero numbers are significant, so that's any number 1 through 9. Zeros between non-zero numbers are always significant, so in 1203, the 0 is between the 2 and the 3, so it's significant. Leading zeros are insignificant and are not counted, so in 0.00003, all of those zeros are not significant figures. And then, trailing zeros are significant when there is a decimal, and insignificant when there is not a decimal. So in 200.00, all of those zeros are significant because there's that decimal. While in 200, those zeros are insignificant because there is not a decimal. Now, there's one special case we have to talk about. Let's say we measure that something was 1,000, but we knew that the 0 in the hundreds and tens were significant. How would we show this without adding a decimal and then making the 0 in the 1 significant as well? What we could do is we could put a line over the 0 in the tens place, and that will tell us that every 0 in the tens place, and to the left of that, so the 2 yellow zeros shown in the number I typed below, are significant. And the 0 in the ones place would be insignificant. So, rather than memorize all these rules, we often use the PA or Pacific Atlantic method to help us determine the amount of sig figs. So, if the decimal is present, we start counting from the first non-zero number on the left and count every number to the right of it. And if the decimal is absent, we start counting at the first non-zero number on the right and then count every number to the left of it. Now, the reason we call this the Pacific Atlantic method is that to help us remember it, you could remember the Pacific Ocean is on the left of the US, so when the decimal is present, we start counting from the left. And the Atlantic is on the right of the United States, so when the decimal is absent, we start counting from the right. So now, let's try an example. So how many sig figs is 23.43? We have the decimal point is present here, so we're going to start on the left with the first non-zero number, which here is a 2. And then we're going to count every number to the right of it, and never stop counting. So we have the 2, the 3, the 4, and then the 3. So that gives us that 23.43 is 4 significant figures. For our next example, how many significant figures are there in 1009? So here, there is no decimal point, or it is absent, so we are going to start on the first non-zero number on the right, which here is the 9. And then we're going to count every number to the left of that 9, including it, which the 9 is 1, there's 2 zeros, which makes 3, and then that 1, which makes 4. So 1009 has 4 significant figures. How many sig figs is 0.0073? So here the decimal is present, so we're going to start at the first non-zero number on the left. Now that non-zero is important here because the first significant figure is actually the 7. Those 2 zeros don't count. And then we count every number to the right of that 7. So that 7 is 1, and then that 3 makes 2. So 0.0073 has only 2 significant figures. Those zeros are leading zeros and therefore are insignificant. Next, let's look at 120 with a decimal at the end. So Here, the decimal is present, so we're going to start at the first non-zero number on the left, which here is a 1, and then count every number to the right of it. And once again, we never stop counting, even if we get to a 0. So we have the 1, which is 1 sig fig, the 2, which is 2 sig figs, and then the 0, which is 3, making 120 decimal have 3 significant figures. The 0 here is a trailing 0, but since there's a decimal, it makes it significant. For our last example, we're going to look at how many sig figs are in 27,000 when there's the bar over the 0 in the tens place. So, the decimal is absent here, so we're going to start at the first non-zero number on the right usually. Here is the one exception to that. Since the 0 in the tens place is significant, as we know by the bar, we're actually going to start at that 0 and count every number to the left, instead of going all the way to the 7. So, the 0 in the tens and the 0 in the hundreds both count as 2 sig figs. Then we have the 7, which makes 3, and then the 2, which makes 4. Therefore, 27,000 with a bar over the 0 in the tens has 4 significant figures. Now that we've gone through these examples, here are some practice questions for you to test your understanding. So in each of these 6 numbers, how many significant figures are there? The first one is 123.7. The second one is 19,308. Question 3 is 0.0104. Question 4 is 4,000. Number 5 is 120.01. And question 6 is 31,200 with a line over the 0 in the tens place. At this time, I encourage you to pause the video, and the answers will be provided for you on the next slide. The solutions are as follows. In question 1, all numbers are non-zero, so they'll be significant. So there are 4 significant figures. In question 2, everything's significant, so there are 5 significant figures. Remember that zeros between non-zero numbers count. In question 3, the first 2 zeros are leading zeros, so they do not count. So only the 1, 0, and 4 are significant, leading it to be 3 significant figures. In question 4, all those zeros are trailing, and there is no decimal, so only the 4 is significant, so there will be 1 significant figure. In question 5, everything's significant, so there are 4 significant figures. Remember that trailing zeros with a decimal do count. And lastly, there are 4 significant figures in question 6, because the 3, 1, and 2 will always count, and then the 0 with the line over it is significant as well. Hopefully you got these. If not, feel free to leave any questions you have in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.